Hello, this is an update on what I'm calling Bouncy World. I have written a service and a client for it, and this is the progress so far. It's not 100% finished, but it is starting to shape up. So here we can see I've got a Kotlin application, so I've broken it down so that the service is available that runs the world and emulates or simulates the bouncing of various shapes in it. And I'll go more into that in a minute. On the client side, we have a standard CC65 using Fujinet lib, and that is runnable from the code base. Here we can see currently what it does is it asks for the endpoint host 8080, which is where the Bouncy World service is running. All that's that the application does at the moment is asks the service what the shapes are. It does a network read, asks for the number of shapes, which you can see is 21, and then downloads the shape data for the objects that will be moving around the screen. So here we can see it's printed them out, so we can just see them in their glory. These are the things that will be bouncing around. The world service has a neutral format for the graphics that comes down. They're all fairly simple values like slashes and L's and T's and things like that. And then each of the clients converts those characters into specific shapes for themselves. So these are the general shapes, but for instance, these little blocks here can be converted to ASCII or PETSCII values, depending on the platform that's running. So that's it at the moment in terms of the client. The client connects, gets all the shape data. The next part of this will be to start presenting the world from the simulation. And we can look at that from the Kotlin side now. I've actually written a client, just a small one for now, that does that. So if we that, I run this one instead. What we'll get is typically what a client would see. In this moment, this simple client is just bouncing balls around. Obviously, I've just represented each of those shapes that you saw previously that the client will show as their appropriate size circles so that we can see that the world simulator is bouncing them around. I've got a lot of size 1 balls there, size 2, knocking around size 3, and some size 5s. So as you can see, the world wraps so that bouncing balls will just zoom off to the left or right or up and down. What will happen with the service is that as each client connects to that service, the screen size will get bigger. At the moment, I've got it so that the next client would connect on the right-hand side, and would generate some balls from there, and they would start bouncing around and start interacting with the ones on here. So everything would move between those two screens because the service effectively thinks the world is twice as big now, and those balls can just bounce around as they need to, or the shapes, bodies as I call them. So you can say this quite hypnotic watching this bounce around. You can add more balls, add more shapes, bodies, reduce that number as well, but it kind of gives a nice idea of the physics involved and how they bounce off each other. You can imagine that the large circles there are represented by some of the shapes that we saw on the client. And that's the progress at the moment. The next part is to get the client to start asking for the data for each frame, because this at the moment is running at 10 frames a second. There is a pause of 100 frames a second. There's 1 millisecond pause between each step, and then it shows the next set of shapes. The clients will be getting their data and displaying those as quickly as they can. That's going to be some fun parts to sort out. But yeah, that's where we are.